Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Roth, Alison McConnell and Tam McManus here with me. Lots of football to talk about. We'll look back over the weekend because it was a humdinger of a weekend. Goals flying in all across the Scottish Premiership. It has had a dramatic twist in the Predictor as well, because Tam McManus now really motoring. We'll talk about that, but let's get to the main talking points. You can give us your view on your favourite team. What did you make of the display? Are you happy? Are you angry? We'd love to hear from you. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and of course don't forget, if you download the PLZ Soccer app, you can watch the show on your phone or your tablet. Roffy, 9-0. Jack Ross, I thought he was going to go after the game and there was such a delay for him coming out, and then maybe 24 hours later I thought somebody might have made an announcement. You don't want people to lose their jobs, but he was under pressure.
No, he is under pressure with the results that have been coming up, you know, and sometimes you see a manager taking it upon himself to say, look, I can't change it, I've done my best, blah, blah, blah. I think it's too early for that. I think it's too early for the board to make a decision as well. There needs to be an improvement, there's no doubt about it, but he'll get games against St Mirren and Motherwell and Kilmarnock, and if he starts getting beaten 3-4-0 against them, then they'll have to make a decision, because if you can't hang about, because they should be a top 6 team. Yeah,
we've been here before, Ali, with Ruffy. If it's Ruffy who's the chairman, Jack Ross has got until mid-January.
2024.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think I absolutely take the point. I think no one wants to see managers sacked. I think it's very uncomfortable. I think, Peter, you and I have been in the situation where you're having to ask people about it. It's incredibly uncomfortable. But I think when you have 1 point from the opening sequence of games, I think it becomes incredibly fraught. I think you saw it with Motherwell at the start of the season, that all of a sudden you see the possibility of the financial repercussions of falling down a league, and that hastens a decision. I think sometimes there's a feeling that you have to act. I think they'll hang fire for a bit. I think they'll wait. It's been a new appointment. I think you saw the success that Tam Courts had last term. They had a remarkable campaign, but I think they have to see a response immediately. It has to come. We all know that there's been this hangover from the European game. The ghost of it seemed to circle around Tannadice and around the psyche of the players. But I think they need to pick up points. I think they badly need a win somewhere. They need to get it, and it needs to come quickly. And if it doesn't, I think the hand is forced.
Yeah, absolutely. What Ali's talking about, certainly from a journalistic point of view, Tam, is a question that we hate asking, which is quite simply, usually it's worded this way. I'm only speaking from a broadcast point of view here. When he's coming out and you're live on the television, and the question is, do you still think you're the man that can turn this around or take the club forward? It's that way of saying, you know, are you going? Do you think you're going to get sacked? I can remember saying it as a young reporter to someone that I really, really admired as a player and like as a person. I had to say it to Sandy Clark at St Johnstone, and I felt terrible. I mean, it was just so bad to say it, and he leathered me for it. I mean, it took a while before he time's a great healer, but I felt sick saying it because I like Sandy so much.
Yeah, listen, it's an uncomfortable position for Jack to be in, especially when you see the start of the season they had, beating Alkmaar at home, and everybody thought Dundee United were going to be a real force this season, going to do well, sign good players, but ever since that game it's been an absolute nightmare. I think they've lost 23 goals in the last 4 games. That's absolutely incredible, and Jack doesn't turn into a bad manager overnight, but he needs a result. Alison's right, I think they've got Motherwell away and Livingston away the next 2 games. They've got to pick up a win from one of their games. If they lose these 2, then I don't think I think he'll be out the door, and I feel sad for him because I like Jack, I'm friends with him. I think he's done a good job at Hibs. He's obviously waited to get back in at Dundee United, which I thought was a good move for him. He signed decent players, but the players are letting him down. You can speak about the manager all you want, but the players let him down massively yesterday. They chucked it, they stopped going with runners. I've been in teams where you're getting beat 5 and 6 for the Old Firm, and you get together and you say, listen, it stays at 5 or 6-0. I think that it could have been, the referee added a minute on. If the referee played to the, 4 or 5 minutes, which it should have been, then it could have been 10-0. And I think just that 10, the double figures, I think that would maybe be enough for him to push the button on him. But I hope he gets the result soon, because I've a lot of time for Jack. And I do genuinely think he's a good manager.
Yeah, strangely enough, Watt, Mulgrew, McGrath, they were all on the bench. He obviously adopted a strategy that he thought would be able to contain Celtic. On the flip side of it all, I think we've got to mention that Celtic were just irresistible.
Yeah, I think they had that look about them. Funny enough, I thought it was quite a staid opening period, the first few minutes, but I think once Celtic clicked, once the first goal came, you had a sense that the heavens were going to open. But I don't know that you'd have predicted 9-0, but I think from the minute the first goal went in, you could sense the capitulation from the Dundee United players. I thought Celtic, from middle to front, they have teams, they have players who can really hurt teams, but I would agree with Tam. I thought some of the organisation within Dundee United was deplorable. They were almost statuesque at times, standing off. I think Celtic were able to manoeuvre and move at will and get in, but I think there's big problems there. I think they need to address it. I think what you saw was a lack of cohesion, a lack of camaraderie almost within the squad, and I think Celtic exploited that ruthlessly.
Yeah, Jack Ross reckoned most of his players were like dummies in a shop window.
You know, be physical enough and competitive enough. No, we weren't. You know, we conceded goals that were akin to training ground exercise against mannequins, and that's an accurate description. That's not a good description to have against your team and for players individually, but that's what it was like. So it's a fair point to make. You know, be physical enough and competitive enough. No, we weren't. We conceded.
I'll come back to that. He did come out actually and said his piece, Jack Ross, so fair play to him for that. He's not one to shirk his responsibility. I did get a sense from Ange Postecoglou. It was a blistering performance. I didn't feel as if the manager of Celtic wanted to gloat about it all.
Played our football, and I thought we did that. You know, there was a patch in the first half. We got a bit sloppy with our passing, but we rectified that pretty quickly. And then, the key after that was just to stay really focused and disciplined, keep playing our football. Don't let the score line or the circumstances take us away from that. And I thought the boys did well to do that.
I don't think he wanted to rub it in, Ruffy.
No, I think he's an experienced manager. He knows what it's like to be on the other side. You know what other managers are going through. So no, it's a bit of respect. Because one day, he'll be in the end of a 9-0, but there might be a day when, it does happen to him and he'll be expecting the same from the other manager. I don't think you should be gloating anyway, because he's been in the game a long time. But I said it right at the beginning of the season. I think this season, more than any, Rangers and Celtic will be miles ahead of everybody else. Yeah,
I don't think I'll disagree with you on that, Ruffy. The nightmare for Jack Ross, 25 goals in 7 games, worst ever home loss in Premiership history, joint worst result in the European tie, obviously spanked 7-0 by AZ Alkmaar, 1 point from 6 games. In contrast to that, Ange Postecoglou, 37 games unbeaten, and apart from anything else, 2 players scored a hat-trick. But the movement and the one-touch football, I think a lot of Celtic fans were just purring watching this display.
Yeah, I think it's it's probably one of the best Celtic teams that I've seen. One of the most ruthless anyway. I played against Great Martin O'Neill team. But this team just seems to have so much energy, so much pace in their team. They go for the throat, and teams are they're spanking teams. They're going to get their first proper test. I think obviously at the weekend against Rangers, and then you'll see if they are indeed the real deal. But 37 games unbeaten. I think the last game they lost was Livingston away, and that was a long time ago. So Ange's, the supporters love him. The supporters love the way they want to play. That's always been traditionally the way Celtic have played all through the years, attacking football. Done it in the European Cup team under Jockstein, and it's continued. Celtic fans want to see their team attacking non-stop, and they've got the perfect manager for that style of football now. OK, that's our quiz question, because Celtic provided the Scottish Premiership with 9 goals. Here's how we want you to get involved. How many goals were scored in the Scottish Premiership this weekend? We'll give you the answer at the end, but if you can recall all the games that were fired out there on Saturday and Sunday, count them all up, how many goals were scored without looking at any kind of site to tell you? Look at Ruffy, you can see him counting them up in his head right now. We'll give you the answer at the end of the day. OK, from Celtic spanking Dundee United 9-0, Rangers dispatched 4 past Ross County. What did you make of it, Ruffy?
I agree a wee bit with Malky at the beginning. Obviously, if Rangers go down to 10 men, it's a different result, but I think Rangers would have still won in the end. I thought Rangers again played some smashing football, good work in the latter third of the park, good to watch. You know, their fans will be enjoying everything that's happening as well. Scored good goals, but I agree with Malky a wee bit, you know, but in saying that, he got away with one last week with Callan, and I don't remember him complaining about that. So, swings and roundabouts, you've got to go on with it, but Rangers were dominant, and I thought they played really, really good football.
Well, I thought they played some lovely, nice one-touch football as well, middle to front. Cholak scoring goals for fun. I think ever since Hugh McDonald suggested he didn't look as if he could score goals, he's going to get 30.
Gately slaughtered them as well.
I mean, he's going to get. I think he'll score 20. I think Cholak's easily going to hit 20. In fact, I'll stick my neck out and say he's going to score 25 for the season.
Absolutely. I think he's one of the players who just gets goals.
I think any Rangers and Celtic striker should score 25 goals.
Yeah.
The chances they get, you know, we always used to talk about Alan McCoy, so he missed this, he missed that, and he missed that, but he still got 25 goals, or maybe more than that, because the chances you get are far more than any other striker in the league. So if you're decent enough, you're going to take the most of your chances.
To be fair, I've seen some decent strikers at Celtic and Rangers that couldn't score 25 goals. I could put together a list of them. I think Tony Cascarino, Sibo, remember him? There's, I'm sure. I forgot all about him, Robbie, but he could be out before we get to September the 1st. Yeah, I mean, listen, there was a key moment in the game, and I must admit, I'm absolutely gobsmacked that Don Robertson didn't spot. It could have been yellow, it certainly could have been red. I mean, everybody's had a look at it, and he doesn't send off James Sands. I do not understand why he did not get a red card.
I think as a standalone incident, it could have been a red card on its own. I think it was definitely a second booking. I think it was definitely a yellow card. I think there's a clear infringement. I think it happens over, it seems to last forever. It seems to go on for a while. They move ground, two hands, firmly around him, grappling him to the deck. It's a definite yellow card.
Yeah, red maybe?
I think he'd already been booked.
Yeah. Gio van Bronckhorst had this to say on James Sands' tackle. We gave away a lot of space at the back. That's why we had James Sands quickly on a booking. In the second half, we changed it and controlled it better. It was a close call that went our way. Sometimes the call from the referee is against you, and sometimes for your advantage. It was the decision of the referee at the moment, but for us, it was a positive one because James didn't get a second yellow.
He's a politician.
Well, that's what managers do, though. Some you win, some you lose. I was waiting for it. The only thing that wasn't in that line there was they evened themselves up over the season.
Yeah, but I think it was a straight red. I don't even think, to not give even a second yellow and a red. He's last man, he's caught wrong side, and he just pulls the ball out the deck. It's a stonewall red card. Rangers obviously on the end of a wrong decision the week before with Lundstrom not getting sent off, but this week they get a big decision going in their favour. So I wonder if they're still putting their phone call into the SFA this week as they did last week.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people on here are talking about it and mentioning the fact that it's not that referees are biased. I think that was one of the points that was made by Stephen. He says it's not that they're biased or cheats, they're just awful. And I don't think there's any defence on that decision. I cannot wait for VAR, Ruffy, because it wouldn't make a bad referee a good referee. But it'll certainly highlight the fact that he doesn't get the big calls right, and somebody needs to help him.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great defence, but the only defence they have is they only see it once. That's the only defence they've got. They've got to make up their mind, with the two of them pulling each other. They don't get a chance to see it again. We all saw it. We could see it for a better angle, and we could see it once, twice, 3 times, and the more you see it, the more obvious it is. So you're right, VAR will give them a hand, but there are far too many of them happening now.
Yeah, okay. It's just one of those situations where Rangers were able to take full advantage of it. Now, even with that situation of 11 against 11, I thought they were impressive. Cholak scoring the goals. Lundstrom, he got a slight deflection on it, but still gets the worthy goal. He's been one of those guys that I think some Rangers fans weren't too sure of when he started, but boy, he's a key player for them.
It's almost become one of the real popular figures too. I think just the heart on sleeve mentality, getting stuck in. Yeah, I think I think it was a fairly fluent performance. I think if you take away the incident that we spoke of, I think in terms of the game as a whole, I think Rangers are more than worthy winners. I think it looked very, very fluent, considering it's coming in the back too of the European exertions. I think it makes it all the more laudable that you come in and you produce a performance like that without breaking stride, really.
Yeah. What next for Alfredo Morelos? I wonder what this week is going to hold. There is a wee suggestion out there that maybe his agent's been trying to punt him to the likes of Fenerbahce, but you know, the big call here is Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has had a chat with him. The two of them know what's going to happen. We're going to find out by September 1st.
I think we find out on Tuesday night, tomorrow night or Wednesday night. When did they play Queen of the South at home? I think tomorrow night. I think if he's still on Rangers' plans, still on Van Bronckhorst's plans, I think he'll play tomorrow. You know, Queen of the South at home, no disrespect to Queen of the South, it's a great opportunity for Morelos to get 90 minutes under his belt. I think if he's nowhere to be seen tomorrow, then he's finished at Rangers. I think he'll be away in the window. I think they'll try and sell him, because the last thing Rangers want to do is let him run his contract down, you know, and go for nothing. So I think that will tell all tomorrow night if Morelos is in the starting lineup.
Yeah. Would you sell him or would you keep him?
I think I would sell him. I think there's a lot of Van Bronckhorst is putting out some good PR that he's still in my plans and this and that, and if he shows he's going to get himself fit, but I think that's a smokescreen. I think they've already, you know, as you said there, told his agent, find somebody, find it at a reasonable price, and if we like it, we'll take it and move on, because this just cannot keep happening, particularly the way Rangers are just now and firing on all cylinders and doing particularly well in Europe. You can't have that person hanging about getting you bad publicity when all you want is good publicity.
Yeah, the strange thing about it though is, I think in the last 3 years, every window we've been speaking about Alfredo Morelos. We've had an absolute field day with people saying, oh, he's, you know, we've been reading on our feed on this live show, he's worth 20, he's worth 30 million. No, maybe he's worth 10 because he's been sent off. Now you're wondering what are Rangers going to get for a player, as Tam mentioned, in that final year.
Yeah, and the thing, you're only ever worth what someone's willing to pay. You know, you can put a value on a player, but if someone doesn't match it, then you don't get it. It's as simple as that. And I think he's in a very strong position, because he knows that he can sit on the sideline and run his contract down if he wants. I think it's been interesting over the last few weeks. I think Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's comments have been very interesting. I think the fact that Čolak is now scoring goals, he looks very confident, he looks assured in that position as taking on the main striker at the club. I think it makes it easier for a decision to be made, and I think if you to suggest at the start of the window that you would sell Alfredo Morelos and bank the profit, I think a number of Rangers fans would have wanted to see him stay. I think the tide turns when you see someone coming in and scoring goals, and then you see a moment of stupidity again that you saw at Easter Road. I think it makes it far easier to accept a bid for him.
You won't see him tomorrow because he's still on a 2-game ban.
He's still out. That's exactly what I was just about to say. He still has to serve.
I thought it was only for league games, cup games as well.
It's all domestic competitions.
Yeah.
The biggest test is if he eventually does get on the park, how the fans are going to react. That'll be a massive reaction. You know, if they're prepared to give him a third, fourth, fifth chance, you know, there'll be a lot of dissent out there of what he nearly did to the club.
I think he's got enough credit in the bank.
Credit in the bank. You can honestly see him being booed on.
No,
I can see if he doesn't score goals and doesn't put a shift in.
Yeah, but that's a
there's
different
gonna be
kettle of fish. I don't see Rangers fans booing Morelos on, do you?
No, I wouldn't be surprised with a certain. I don't know about that.
Yeah. Have you got
Partick Thistle we're talking about now.
Have you got mates that are going to? Have you got 5 or 6 mates who are going to boo him on?
I'm not. I just think the way things happened at Hibs and, you know, with the European game.
Yeah.
You know, all right, they got through, but if they hadn't got through, I think you'd have seen a massive reaction.
Yeah, listen, there's no doubt he's let his teammates down. Whether he's actually, you know, at the 9th life and Morelos is, you know, that's him. Whether he's run out of any kind of favour, we're about to find out. But nevertheless, you can give us your view. Would you sell him? Would you keep him? Would you give him that chance just to try and help that squad in the Champions League group stages? Does he deserve another chance? Give us your thoughts on that. If you're a Dundee United fan, what do you think of Jack Ross? Can he survive? Should he still be the manager? We did actually put a poll out over the weekend, and 73% said Jack Ross should go. So there's a real groundswell of opinion, you know, raw after that 9-0 defeat from Dundee United fans and maybe others that suggested he should be sacked. But he's in there, he's got a job. I know Tony Ascar and the rest of the board will probably look and say, okay, as Tam mentioned, couple of games, he really has to try and get something positive out of it. It's amazing how things can change, Ruffy. I mean, I was up there at Tannadice for that Alkmaar game, and they were absolutely throwing themselves in front of the ball. The passing was great, the Mulgrew was good, McGrath was good, Fletcher looked as if he was going to be a good buy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you rewind to 3 weeks ago, we were all sitting here saying what fantastic signings he's made. You know, this could be the year. You know, you say McGrath, I think the boy Levitt back again, he got Fletcher and Watt, and we all sat there going, well, this could be the year.
Yeah.
It just shows you in that game in particular, where everybody, the fans were all, you know, oozing with what they'd saw, and now they're walking out at half time.
Yeah,
I think they're starting to believe their own publicity after that game. The whole team.
Maybe.
I think we're a team. You know, we don't need to go out and do the basics and work hard since that game, and it's shown.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you ooze at a game? I love you, by the way. Honestly.
Ooze the confidence.
All right, yeah. Slightly different line. Anyway, apart from anything else, a team that's oozing with confidence is Hearts. What a game it was against St Johnstone. 5 goals. The only downside, I think, is Robbie Nielsen has got problems. Liam Boyce and Kai Rolls injured, so he said he's going to try and delve into the transfer market before it shuts.
Boyce would be a huge miss if he's out for any length of time. I think he really would be. I was surprised. I thought they might have dropped points just on the back of playing an exacting European fixture. Quite often you see teams just heavy-legged when they come back into it. I think it can be quite a difficult skill to master. I think it takes repeated exposure of playing European football midweek and then playing at weekends to really get into the groove and get used to it. Quite often around Europe you see teams that have been involved dropping points at midweek, at weekends. So I thought it was a good performance, a good result, but yeah, I think that the loss would be huge for them.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to read this message out, Tam, because I think it's really fair. I'm going to get some thoughts on St John's in a moment, but I've got to read this out. You're smiling and you're reading what I'm reading. Now, this is the nature of this game here, because obviously there was a big chat about Jack Ross there, but Tool Pusher has said, Peter, I'm a Rangers man. I'm a Rangers man. Celtic get 9 goals and all they get is 5 minutes at the start of the programme and the rest is all Rangers. That's not fair. Now, if Tool Pusher is a Rangers fan, then I'm absolutely gobsmacked. There are people, Ruffy, who actually time how long you talk about certain sections of the Scottish Premiership. There's a lot to cram into this show. Should Jack Ross get sacked? Yes or no? We've discussed it. Should Don Robertson have given a penalty, a red card to James Sands? We've discussed it. I mean, I don't know how in-depth everybody wants to go. Kyogo scored a hat-trick. Lila Bader scored a hat-trick. You know, what do you want to do? Salivate over it non-stop? The two of them have played good football. They've got 3 points each.
No, I think in all fairness today we've been giving them equal time.
Yeah, I just had to read that out. It was great crack. And I like Billy's attitude to this. He's got a bit of a contradictory name. Billy Boy. BHOY, and he says, quick, get a stopwatch. Billy, you're right, you can't win in this situation. But by the way, again, the quality of Hearts, as Ali mentioned there, against the St Johnstone side that, you know, you never know. I predicted that they'll get relegated, but I still think they've got a half-decent squad to make it outside of it.
I thought if they'd come away with 2 each, it would have been a fair result.
Yeah.
You know, I think they put in a good enough shift.
What about the mistake from Craig Gordon?
It's just a kick out. It's not a mistake, really. It's a kick out. He doesn't get.
I'm sticking up for goals
I know.
again.
Wait a minute.
Sticking up for him.
It's not like he's thrown one in the back of the net.
It's a mistake.
Of course it's a mistake. It's not like a horrendous mistake.
What's that goal? Hold on a minute. What's a horrendous mistake? He's given it to the St John's player and he's put it in the net. What more do you want?
I'm not. If it was a shot and he'd let it through his legs or something like that, yeah. But I mean, it's one of these things that happens.
By the way, outside of his left peg as well.
It's a good finish.
Graham Carey, just
great finish. Aye, harder than I think it looked. You know, it looked like an easy finish, but great finish. And actually, I thought St Johnstone might have got a point, but Hearts have got a lot of goals in them. You know, they brought the 3 of them on. They arrested them.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. If anything, it proved that Hearts haven't got a lot of real depth.
No.
They've got depth, but they've not got the depth that Rangers and Celtic have got.
Yeah.
They can't, they're not good enough to play a European tie and leave 3 or 4 players out.
So they've got depth, but they haven't got submarine depth.
Aye.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of depth.
Red October depth.
Yes.
Right, okay.
I just think they can't leave Shankland out. You know,
Yeah.
they can't leave players like that out. They're not that good.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing, it was a great game, thoroughly enjoyed it. Okay, Ali, I'm looking at the scores at the weekend, I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking at them all and I'm thinking, right, who's going to get a tough afternoon? And as I'm looking at the scores, I see Aberdeen are 5-0 up on Livingston. I'm thinking, it's all starting to click for Jim Goodwin. But come on, I mean, Jack Fitzwater gets sent off and then you're up against it. So it's slightly skewing what Aberdeen are all about, but they took their goals well.
I think they did take the goals well. I think they look like a very confident team all of a sudden, Aberdeen. I think you can sense a very positive atmosphere around about the club, around the team. He brought in 11 new players this summer. They seem to have gelled fairly quickly. They look as though they've got goals in them. They look as though they've got a bit of pace in them. And I think if you're winning games, all of a sudden it just lifts it entirely. You think where they were this time, you go back 8-9 months and the atmosphere around the club was very different to what it is now. I think you can just sense the confidence that's there.
Yeah, you love Miovski, don't you?
I think he's a good player, I think he's another guy. I think Aberdeen have been crying out for a real 20 season, goals a season man, and I think he could possibly be it. Took his goals well. Surprised he never took another penalty for his hat trick. I know Jim Goodwin after the game wasn't too happy about that. Obviously they won 5-0, but I think he's wanting him to be the penalty taker and take everything. So obviously passed it on to Basujawan and he get the goal. But I think Aberdeen, I like the look of them. They've recruited well. We're going to talk about Hibs later on, who have not recruited well, but they've brought in players that are better than the players that were there, and that's why they're getting better results. Whereas Hibs have brought in players that are no better, and they're not getting any better results. It's no rocket science.
Yeah, Jim Goodwin raving about Miovski.
We've added some real quality in the attacking third. Miovski again is just this kid could be anything he wants. Honestly, he's just turned 23. We have made quite a significant investment in bringing him to the club, but we all believed that we could continue his development here at Aberdeen and give him a really good platform to go and excel, and he's done that. And he's not even up to full speed yet, really, in terms of his match sharpness and his match fitness.
Ooh, he likes him.
Yeah, I was listening to his interview after it. He was saying even in training, he's electric, and the other players can see he's got something in him. We see the next manager that comes in interview and tells us how hard it is to play against 10 men.
Yeah, you're not having it.
Not having it at all.
It's not hard to play against 10 men.
It's not hard enough
No.
to break them down.
No, okay. I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes I think it's hard to play against 10 men, especially usually Livingston put in a shift, but Fitzwater's put them on the back foot, and then from there, I mean, if you listen to David Martindale, he is not happy with his team.
But I think I've got to take a lot of responsibility there for you. I can't do anything about the first goal. That's not something I coach. It's not a pattern of play that we work on. It's an individual making a mistake, and then that leads to a second mistake. And you're down to 10 men, and does that change the course of the game? Yep. But I think I've got to be very, very careful. I don't think that can be the reason we're sitting here talking about a 5-0 game. I don't think that's acceptable from the players or myself to be sitting here just because we had 10 men to lose 5-0. I don't think that's acceptable.
Well, David Martindale's not making any excuses. He's just not happy. 10 men on the field. He's not having 5-0.
I think 5-0 is just such a demoralising scoreline too. I think it's not a nice scoreline to be on the end of. I'm sure he'll have been furious just watching the goals. I think some of the goals were quite cheap goals. I think I take the point, when you go down to 10 men, it makes it a difficult proposition, but I think then you want to see a bit of heart, a bit of fight about your team. I think you'll be disappointed to come away in the back of such a heavy defeat, but also just the manner of some of the goals and the self-inflicted nature of the defeat.
Yep, well, the Dundee Dons, are they back? Is this the real deal? We're about to find out, but that's a good result for them. A good result also, and they needed it as well. Kilmarnock roughly 2-1 over Motherwell. I mean, I actually thought Motherwell played some nice stuff, got the early goal, good goal by Van Veen, but the one that they lost, I mean, the winner, I mean, I'm going to go to Ali first because she was at the game. Ali, the ball travels 40 yards past 6 Motherwell players in the box before Taylor heads it home.
He was completely unmarked as well. He got up to score, and as soon as he connected, you actually had the feeling, as soon as he connected, you knew it was a goal. Just knew it was going in. But I thought Kilmarnock deserved it. I thought they created so many opportunities to come back and equalise, squandered a lot of good opportunities. I thought they were well worth the 3 points. I think they really stuck in. Again, to go so long without getting that first win, I think the longer it goes, the harder it gets and the more demoralising it is. When they went a goal down, I think you could sense the rallying within the team. But yeah, I thought it was a shocking goal to lose. Even the equaliser, it's a poor goal to lose. You know, William Kelly parries it, and then you get Daniel Armstrong nets the rebound again. But I thought Motherwell were slow to react there too. But I think overall Kilmarnock were well worth it.
Yeah, Stephen Hamill certainly not happy at the manner in which they lost the game.
Yeah, the second goal's nowhere near good enough. It's nowhere near. We shouldn't be conceding a goal like that at this level. The boys understand that, they know that. Like I said, we are going to lose games, we know that, but the manner that we lost that to the goal that we did is hugely disappointing.
Not a happy man. Obviously, they need to shut that window down there in that press room, Ali, to be perfectly honest with you. But as far as Kilmarnock are concerned, Derek McInnes happy with the win, but he's looking now at all the other teams that are just wondering, can anybody really lay a glove and take 3 points off Celtic and Rangers? He was talking today ahead of their League Cup, Premier Sports Cup match this week, and he's just saying the spending power of Celtic and Rangers is something that the rest of them are all looking on in awe of.
Who knows? I think the money is available to both teams. There obviously comes pressures with that for them to compete and use that money wisely, but it's money that only other teams can dream of, to be honest, so it does become more difficult, but I think that's always been the case. But well, Rangers and Celtic are collecting Champions League money, and we would rather have that. We want the Scottish teams to do well, and it's up for the rest of us to try and improve as well, whether we can make those improvements that they have.
Yeah, it's a tall order. You need to have a special run, I think, Tam, where the last time somebody actually won the league that wasn't Celtic and Rangers is all those years ago as Aberdeen. But that was because you had one of the greatest managers to have ever lived, who managed to create a siege mentality, got his scouts to go down and nick some of the best players in the west of Scotland, and then he knew a player.
Yeah, it's never going to happen now. It's Celtic and Rangers are just going to dominate the league from now until we're long gone. I just think because, as Derek said, the spending power, the budget they've got, you can compete with Celtic and Rangers in a one-off game, and that's been shown over the years. Some teams have beat them in cups and whatever, but over the 36, 38 games, you cannot compete with them. I can remember being at Hibs and we had a great season under Alec McLeish and we were splitting the Old Firm at Christmas. Then we ended up finishing with a bad run because we got a few injuries to key players, and we finished 25 points behind second place. So you can compete up to a certain time, but over the course of a full season, the Celtic and Rangers squads are far too strong, too much depth, and you just can't compete with them. So I think Derek's got it spot on. You've just got to look after yourself. If you finish third in the league, you've won your own league. Your Motherwells, your Hibs, your Hearts. If you finish third, then you've done well, but you're never going to get anywhere near the Old Firm now. And
amazingly though, Ali, the fans just keep buying into it. Scottish football fans are they're crazy for the game. The obsession with this game is incredible here. Even with the circumstances of the big two, they still come out great supporters. If Aberdeen string 3 results together, their away support is sensational. Hearts equally so. It's a long time since I've seen a Hibs away support, because they're ranked rotten at the moment, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, I think so, and I think per head of population, I think Scotland is really high up when it comes to attendance figures for people turning out and supporting their team. I think it's a national sport. It's people want to get out, and I think after COVID too, there was a freshness about going out and enjoying seeing a game when you hadn't been able to do it for so long. I think what they want to see is a challenge. They want to see a sustained an improved performance over the course of a campaign. They still want to see good players going into their club. They'll celebrate goals, they'll celebrate the progression of their team. I think realistically every fan would accept Celtic and Rangers will win the league, forevermore, unless you could see some drastic redistribution of wealth. Then you know that no one is ever really going to catch Celtic or Rangers. But the likes of Hearts and what they've done last season, I think, encourages supporters to get out and say, well, where can it lead to? If you get into some kind of European football on the back of being third, what does that do for your club? What finance does that bring in? And then how can you reinvest that into your own team? Yeah,
I'm being facetious about the Hibbies, by the way, because when they do get a run, they do bring a great away support, but there's a wee bit of unrest again. I just don't know what's happening at Easter Road, do you?
Well, I do. It was a dreadful performance. At St Mirren. St Mirren could have won 3 or 4-0. Had great chances towards the end of the game. Dreadful performance from Hibs after being so good. I said it in the show during the week. Always raise the game against Rangers, Celtic, Hearts. Away from home, you're St Mirren's Motherwell. It's been the same for years now, and there's serious questions, I think, and fingers getting pointed at the recruitment department at Hibs. I think 4 league victories this year for Hibs. They've signed, I think, 22 players, and 3 of them on the team. The 22 players Hibs have signed in the last year, and 3 of them on the team. So what does that tell you? It tells me that the players that Hibs are bringing in are not as good as the ones that were already there. So you're getting in a situation where Hibs struggled latterly under Jack Ross, really struggled under Sean Maloney, and it's basically now they're still the same team. 8 Jack Ross signings in the team. So I think you've got to look at Ian Gordon, Ron Gordon, and you've got to say, what is going on with the recruitment department? Keep signing young players. Obviously signed a couple of experienced players. Unfortunately, Aidan McGee to get injured, but to keep signing players from abroad that are no good enough. They're no good enough for Scottish football at this. And Hibs are not a project club.
Is that because Ian Gordon's out of his depth?
He is out of his depth. And I think Ron came out and said that it's a collective at Hibs. The managers get input, but there's no way that Lee Johnson is signing some of the players. There's no way he's signing some of the players. So I think there's real problems at Hibs at the minute in terms of recruitment. And if Martin Boyle doesn't score or doesn't play well, I feel as if I've said the same for 18 months. If Martin Boyle doesn't turn up, Hibs don't win. And Martin Boyle had a poor game along with the rest of them on Saturday, and Hibs don't score. Somebody else has got to chip in with goals as well, but they're so reliant on Martin Boyle, and I hate to think where they would be if they never re-signed them. They'd be somewhere near the bottom of the league.
Yeah, I mean, on that, I'm not going to take anything away from St Mirren, Robbie. I thought they were magnificent. They could have won by 4 or 5. He's not exaggerating. And we were talking about Stephen Robson now. He had to try and get them on side, but I think they're warming to what he's trying to do.
Well, he's 3 in a row now, and that's what happens. That when you get these wins under your belt, and as Tam's criticising the recruitment at Hibs, I think the recruitment at St Mirren's been very good. I mean, there was 3 or 4 players on the St Mirren side I'd never heard of before, but they're all trying to impress. They're all coming up with the goods, they're scoring goals, they're playing a big part in the game. But these are the games, that when you beat the likes of Hibs, because Hibs are a bigger team, than St Mirren, but you go on 3 games, winning, the confidence is there, and I mean, I don't know what the fixture list is like in the next 2 or 3 weeks, but certainly when you get away from the bottom of that league, the pressure gets off a wee bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people weighing in with it. Robert Rowan says Porteous was really poor. John Dutton hasn't really kind of managed to contain his anger. He just says Hibs are crap and Hanlon's finished. So at the end of the day, a lot of Hibbies are far from happy with it all. Lee Johnson reckons that they let St Mirren off the hook.
But there were certain elements of the game that tactically worked well for us, and we did move from box to box in spells quite slickly, but at the same time we let the opposition off the hook far too many times, and most of our attacks ended up fizzling out.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes you can take a quote out of context when he's saying, most of their attacks look good at times and then they fizzled out, which is possibly where they let St Mirren off the hook. But the overall 90 minutes, I thought St Mirren let them right off the hook.
Yeah, I've only seen highlights. It wasn't a game I was at, but it looked as though St Mirren could have won it far more comfortably. So yeah, that would have been the observation that I would have made. That I think St Mirren will be be feeling pretty positive about themselves. I think a couple of the signings have made an immediate impact. Back has been the obvious one. I think if we can be a bit more consistent with goals, then I think St Mirren's probably might be hanging on to some of them. I think they look as though they've certainly got something to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget, if you are posting any kind of message or thought on the game, try and keep it decent so that people who are reading it, who might not be of a certain age, are not offended in any way. It's the only thing we ask you to do. And 99% of the time, I have to say, quite a lot of people are very respectful of other people who are posting on the site. So thank you to the majority of you. Just try not to use any language which is choice. As far as St Mirren are concerned, I think Stephen Robinson, fair play to him as well. He reckons the Saints fans are maybe buying into him now.
They're not paid fortunes as people believe, and they're giving absolutely everything. And if you're sitting in the stand, you've paid your money, and you see people giving absolutely everything for the badge, that's all you can really ask for. And you can see how much the crowd got behind us today and willed us over the line. And I wish they'd have sucked the ball in a wee bit quicker into the net and I could have relaxed a bit more.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, Robbie. I wish they could have sucked the ball, the fans, into the net a wee bit more, but one's enough.
Yeah, you need to get the fans on board. When you're a new manager, you know, if you're not getting the wins, you've got to convince them to hang on in there, and it will change. And the only way it will change if you start winning, and that's what he's done. You can see the fans in the crowd. I mean, every fan loves winning games, you know, but when you're under a wee bit of pressure, if you can get 2 or 3 wins in a row, you know, it makes life a lot easier.
Yeah. Thank you to the source who says, we are Scottish, we enjoy using certain words. Absolutely, I mean, I get that. I mean, listen, we don't mind getting hammered on the feed, Ruffy. I mean, Ali's been battered from pillar to post. She wanted equality, so I read them out as often as I can when they absolutely are giving it pelters. I don't mind people giving us all pelters and you know, for opinions, but some language and some abuse is just a wee bit over the top. Every now and then I have to remind them, and Tam usually smiles. I wonder if Tam's going to smile now when he has a look at the Predictor table, because he's closing in. He had a good weekend. When you look at it, I've got 54 points. Tam's on 52, and then Ruffy's on 49, Tam Cowan's on 47. No real point in mentioning the bottom two because they're just there to make up the numbers. Oh, we'll just read it out anyway. Alison's on 43 and Hugh McDonald is on 27. So Ali, it's a crisis of confidence. I mean, we should put a poll out. Should we stick with Alison in the Predictor? Yes or no?
I saw 5 points disappear in front of my eyes on Saturday.
You were raging, weren't you?
Yeah. I was thinking to myself, I can't afford to let those points slip. I was cursing the Motherwell defence.
Well, I was going to say to you, Ruffy, that's the great thing about the Predictor. When you're predicting games, we all look at it, and I don't know about you, but there are certain points where I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, right, that's 1-0 at the moment. If they could get a goal, that's 5 points I could have there. If they could score another one, that's another 5. The only difference is it's just difficult to predict Celtic and Rangers because they're firing in 3s and 4s.
Yeah, it is, but the rumours are that Ali's kids now are now hiding at 10 to 5. No one saw the scores come in because the action at home is telling on their food, and when they get out and all that, you know, the pressures of last year are coming in, smiling, laughing as a different person.
To be honest with you, I don't think any of us in this couch have got anything to worry about.
What, Hugh?
Hugh's he's a stick on. He had a draw for Rangers Ross County. No, I'm sorry. I think Hugh wants to take us out, so
yeah.
Hugh's getting a dinner. I'm calling it right now, he's getting a dinner.
A debt hasn't been paid since last season, then maybe it doesn't matter if you finish bottom.
Yeah. Well, Tam Cowan's
taking all the staff out.
Taking all the staff out.
Did you start turning the screw on him?
Mm-hmm. I have to tell you, amazingly, Tam on Thursday turned around. I nearly fell off the chair because I've been with Ruffy that long that you know, if that was Ruffy, he'd be contesting whether he takes anybody out rather than all the staff. But Tam, to his credit, turned around and said, "I'm going to take all the staff as well." So we're all going out, and Tam's picking up the tab.
And is this a new format for whoever finishes again?
No, it's not a new format. You're kidding, for God's sake. I like some of the messages that are coming in, which is fantastic, from Hugh Scott, who has mentioned, Peter, what happened to Alison this year? Is this the classic second season syndrome? And I think it is, Ruffy. It was just
early
one of those.
Days.
It was
early days.
It was just one of those situations where
down.
You know,
5 games in.
She had a good run, and by the way, your son must be raging because he follows it, doesn't he? Mum, you're a dud.
It's a general consensus.
Even without the predictor. Anyway, apart from anything else, he's keeping his eye on it. So you're right, Ali. There are some good matches to look forward to this weekend, and of course, lots of people. Just before we talk about the Premier Sports Cup, lots of people on here are talking about the prices for the Champions League packages as well, which is quite interesting. I think Rangers are £150 to £180. Celtic,
I think it's 129. Is it
upwards?
Correct, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, the demand. Listen, some people might not have the money, and I have great sympathy for a lot of people who are looking and saying to themselves, we just don't have that disposable income. But the demand is such now that you're looking and saying, Rangers, Liverpool, there's the money. Celtic, Real Madrid, here you are.
I think Celtic's deadline was this morning. I think season ticket holders had to apply for this morning. I think I would be amazed if there's any public sale of tickets. I think when you have a fairly glamorous tie, then I think the tickets fly out the door anyway. I think they would go anyway. It's been 4 years since Celtic were last in the Champions League. I think the appetite for going and seeing the club compete in that environment means that they sell anyway. Rangers, I think when you've got Liverpool on the back of last season's Europa League success, I think tickets will go. I think there's no concern really almost about how you price it because people pay it.
Yeah, supply and demand, and I think the Hearts fans will just be buying up anything that's going, because it doesn't matter if it's Istanbul calling it Tynecastle, it's European football, they want a piece of it.
Yeah, I do agree with that. You know, if it's a glamour group and glamour ties, then you can kind of charge what you want, but still doesn't sit too well with me, you know, in this current era, and you know, people are struggling for money. So there's got to be a wee bit of to and fro, there's got to be a wee bit of loyalty shown towards the clubs, towards the fans. The fans will always be loyal and they'll always pay the money, but I don't know, I just think there's something about it that I think they should maybe give them a little bit cheaper, but that's just me.
Yeah, Ruffy, board members sit down, they look at it, they think to themselves, you know, I think Rangers and Celtic could sell their stand twice over.
Yeah, I think
for
so.
these games.
I think it'll be working out, they're charging £40-45 a ticket for a game, for a European game. Is that what it works out?
180 would be £60.
£60. What would you pay for Billy Joel?
Well, that's you've slightly skewed that, Ruffy, because it cost me the flights, the hotel, £500 for his ticket for Madison Square Garden. 500 quid.
But if he was here just in the Hydro or something like that, what would you be prepared to pay? 120?
Easily. I would pay 120, 150 quid for Billy Joel.
I think when you're getting Real Madrid and Liverpool and I throw Napoli and all that into it, they're quality sides that you want to see.
Yeah, the other problem, I know where you're coming from, Tam. I agree with you. At times for example, let me just say this to you, Ali. If you are a dad or a mum and you love your football, right? A classic example, when I was a boy, you know, my mum took us everywhere to see football. It's as simple as that. She was an absolute fanatic, so bought tickets. But you're saying to yourself, have we got enough money? Can we afford to go to that? If you've got 2 kids, 3 kids, and they all want to go to the game, you've got to work out the transport. That's the first thing. Then it's your hot dogs, your burgers, your programme as well. People still like a match programme.
It's expensive. It is expensive. I think the other way to look at it too is, you know, the clubs are making a lot of money from participation in the Champions League. You know that there are vast figures, eye-watering figures that can be made, and I know match revenue is one aspect of that, but I think you'd like to see prices at a realistic pitch for supporters. I think £129 for a 3-match package is a fairly reasonable amount.
Yeah, this one here is from, I'm going to read a couple of these things out because it's reacting to some of the things we've been talking about, and one of them is Malky, who says £60 isn't bad in my opinion. I paid £125 for Metallica. Now automatically I'm thinking to myself, that's £125 for Metallica, you know, and I've heard a couple of their albums. Malky's a brave man. I wouldn't have paid £125 for Metallica to get my ears blasted, but listen, each to their own. It's all about taste.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, everybody has their different thoughts on what they would pay money for.
Yeah, and And I have to tell you, Gregor, who writes regularly, and I think it's fair to say, and I don't mind, by the way, Tam, Gregor just hates me. It's as simple as that. I don't know about you, Ruffy will be able to tell you this, but I always say this to Ruffy. If I'm hosting any event, anywhere, it doesn't matter where it is, I can walk up onto a stage as the host and I know who hates me within 1.2 seconds. I can see them I look at them and I think, he hates me, he doesn't know me, but I know he's got a thought in his head and a perception. And Gregor's one of those guys. He says, Peter Martin's balanced strategy for deciding if a manager's under pressure or should get the sack is, if the manager's a personal friend of mine, yes, no sack, don't sack him. Same goes for the players.
He's got a great point. It's a great point for Gregor. We're all thinking the same.
Jack Ross, I can agree with Jack. I never said he should get sacked. I said I was amazed that he didn't. I'm not, because I think everybody was looking at the time it took for him to come out. I thought they've sacked him. Mm-hmm. It's 25 goals in 7 games. I mean, it's not exactly something you're looking at, and... Well, who was the manager? He said, given our 2 or 3 games we were in.
Graham Alexander.
Graham Alexander. I mean, for God's sake, I think they'd won 3 games in the whole year.
I thought Gordon Frank should have went with the Scotland job if it was more than 3-0.
Yeah, that was another one, by the way. But I don't mind. Anyway, can you do that, Robbie? Can you sense when you're on, if you're speaking anywhere, as soon as you walk on the stage, you just know somebody just doesn't like you, or is it just a case everybody likes you?
No, I've never had that.
No. Brilliant, Ruffy. Tam?
Yes.
Oh, you're a Stonewall certainty.
Did you see the steam coming out their ears?
Brilliant. Anyway, here's the Premier Sports Cup last 16 fixtures over Tuesday and Wednesday. Some good games to go and watch. Dundee against Falkirk, Rangers Queen of the South, Annan against Aberdeen, it's Partick Thistle or Broth, that'll be a belter. Hearts against Kilmarnock, Ross County, Celtic, Motherwell Inverness, and Livingston against Dundee United. I might go and see Motherwell Inverness. Ruffy, what about yourself? You'll be looking forward to Dick Campbell's boys coming to Firhill?
Yeah, I don't think we'll be kidded by where Arbroath sit in this league. They're a very, very hard team to beat. And if you get sent off in the league, can you play in the Premier Cup? Can you? Playing at the big boy O'Brien, the centre half, you get sent off on Saturday, so he's a massive player for them.
Yeah.
So
you said it was all domestic games.
Yeah.
Well, he's a big player, but it'll be a good game. Always is a good game against.
And you play them again the following Saturday, up there.
Saturday, yeah, up there, yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at your fixtures.
Livingston against Dundee United. Tam, is he got to win it?
I think they've got to get through. Yeah, I think the pressure will only intensify if they go there and lose. It's not. Again, it's not a place you want to go when you're under pressure. Livingston midweek, but they've got to go and roll the sleeves up. The players owe the manager a big performance. Yeah. We can speak about the manager all you want, but the players they've got to work harder. They've got to be harder to break down, because if they go and they chuck it again, and Jack Ross will be dreading that, because he gets sacked for Hibs on the back of a dreadful performance and defeat of Livingston. Hopefully it doesn't happen again to him.
I wanted him to stay at Hibs, did you?
I did, yeah. I want him to stay at Hibs, but a lot of Hibs supporters now.
You've been more vocal now since you've left Hibs.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've been outrageous.
Absolutely. No, he's been balanced.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Okay. Before that, he was biased. Now he's balanced because he's out of it. It depends on. Depends on.
Got to juggle the two, Ruffy, as you know.
Absolutely. And sometimes you start to become. Sometimes, depending on interest, you start to listen to particular radio stations. Because you suddenly think they're great. You know what it's like, Rocky. Yeah. You can be swayed along the way. Quite a lot of people are amazed.
Trying to be controversial.
Well, quite a lot of people are amazed he's still here. But then again, you're not a badge kisser. Wait to see this next Tuesday. Gone. Before the window shuts. Anyway, listen, 9-0. Celtic at Dundee United. I mean, that just shows you the standard of our league. That would never happen in the English Premier League at all, Ali. I mean, that's a really competitive league. Talk us through the Liverpool game.
I think Jurgen Klopp needed a big result. I don't think he would have envisaged that one coming. I think they just fell apart, didn't they? They just absolutely fell apart.
It's a bad day when the opposition manager cuddles you. That's when you know you've been
I thought
thumped.
it was incredibly patronising. But aside from that, I think
just going to need that him as well. Better luck next time.
I mean, what do? You've thumped him 9-0. Just shake his hand, you're out the road, and away you go. And I don't think Scott Parker needs to worry, by the way, because somebody told me today this 4-stripe cardigan that he wears is £750 a pop.
He's got a suit to go. He's got a suit.
Yeah.
It's the same.
I saw Roy Keane with one on the ITV Champions League one night, £750 a pop. And of course,
aim for 50.
I know you can. Just so that. Tam's got the one with 5 stripes, which is better than 4. It's the old Spinal Tap, Ali. It's 1 more than 10. Well done, Tam. I love you for that. But nevertheless, £750, which reminds me of the other old boy who used to come in here, the badge kisser. He used to wear the £650 trainers.
Yes.
Balenciagas. Oof,
again, I can get them for £50. But unfortunately, Balenciagas.
Tam's the guy you used to see down the bar, isn't he? Billy Joel, spelled BIQRRY. Fantastic. Anyway, it was 9-0. It was just incredible. But I think Jurgen Klopp was looking for that kind of performance from Liverpool.
In the end, it was the perfect football afternoon for us, and a lot of different goal scorers, all these kind of things. So wonderful goals, fantastic situations, and we all know that we needed something like that, where we had bigger chance in other games.
Yeah, I like Jurgen Klopp, and I looked at it and I thought to myself, okay, they've dismantled Bournemouth 9-0, Ruffy, and I thought to myself, maybe Man City.
Don't worry now about liking managers.
I know, exactly. I know. I don't want
you
him
really
sacked.
like him.
Yeah,
really.
I really like him. Sorry, Gregor. Man City. I saw them losing 2-0, and I thought to myself, dancer. And then I looked at the clock and I thought they'll win by about 4.
Yeah, well, obviously their defence looks a bit shaky, but when they're scoring 4 and 5, you can be shaky. But the boy up front, Haaland, he's just a beast. There was a ball put into the box, and he had two big muscly centre halves, and he just threw them out the road. Here, I'm having this.
Yeah.
It was superb. And the goal he scored when he was just put through, it was the quickness of feet. He just touched it with one foot, next minute it's in the back of the net. It just happened so quick. It was superb.
He's only 22.
Exactly, he's frightening.
6 goals and 4. Still to hit.
How many will he score? I think he could score 35. Yeah.
I think he could break the record this year. I don't know about the record in the Premiership for a single season goal scorer. I don't know what it is. Somebody could maybe tell us on the feed, but I think he could break it. I think he could score 40.
Yeah?
Yep.
40 goals?
Yes. I think he's got 6 or 7 already in 4 games.
That's the only get-out clause for Hugh McDonald. He told us he was going to be a player.
Yeah, absolutely.
You look at Haaland's stats, even in Norway he's got like 22 goals in 20 games or something.
Yeah.
Like everywhere he's been, he's frightening.
And Man City, I think as long as they keep, what do you call him, Bernardo fit, then
him and De Bruyne feeding him balls through.
It's mental. The answer to our quiz question, how many goals were scored in the Premiership this weekend, it was 27. I wonder if you got that. Just before we go, a couple of quick things. Ali, Billy Gilmour set to go out on loan, wasn't given a number at Chelsea. I would love to see him back in Scottish football. I just think it's a complete waste for the boy. Chelsea have just... Tuchel's not been good for him.
No, he's not. I think, Frank Lampard seemed to be a big fan of him, had been bringing him through. I think his career has stalled on the back of a very successful European Championships. I think he desperately needs to go out somewhere where he's going to play regular first-team football. And the last point, Ali, I might as well mention it to you. Sometimes the written press, you're a kind of a really closed shop at times. You can be right cliquey, and at times there's a few Snyders in there, but now you're over the other end as a broadcaster doing your after match stuff, an all-rounder. I think that's what we call it. That's exactly what it is, Ali. You didn't enjoy it first time around, but it's like a duck to water, Ruffy.
Yes.
I
Professionalism.
think we all have to embrace new skills and new challenges.
That's exactly
Innovate.
it. Alison, that's exactly it.
Pay your mortgage, whatever way it goes.
Can I just say, once we get Bonzo into it, that'll be it as well. I can't wait to see him in front of
Wait to see your new energy, Bill.
Yeah. I thought you did fantastically well, and Alison, and all our reporters are covering Champions League and Europa League and Conference League this season. There's lots of big things coming up in PLZ soccer that I know you're going to enjoy, and hopefully you'll stick with us. Hit the subscribe button, and also don't forget to hit the bell, and you'll get all the notifications. If you download the app, you'll get all the breaking stories across British, European and world football, as well as being able to watch our programme live. It's as simple as that. And over and above that, the record for goals in the English Premier League since 1992 is 32 in 38 games. Mo Salah is apparently what the record is. Hugh Scott, I think, has mentioned that. So 32 is not bad, is it? I wonder if somebody can... Yep, you think he'll beat it?
If he stays fit, he plays 38 games.
40?
Yep.
Okay, you heard it here. Tam, as ever, he's in blistering form this season. He's always better when he's on the telly. He's rubbish when he's on the radio, Ruffy. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Thanks to Tam McManus. Thank you to all the people who have complained because Tam's wearing shorts again. Ruffy has decided to keep the trousers on, and Ali, if you just wanted the team. Thanks to Ali, thanks to Ruffy, thanks to Tam McManus, and thanks to you. Join us tomorrow if you can. We'll look more at the Premier Sports Cup ties in greater detail. From myself, Peter Marston, have a great night.